has accused America of practically inventing several legal concepts like international waters, saying it does not exist.
I think the bottom line is still that America has overriding military power. And without wanting to sound glib, those who know, know. I think the Chinese know that.
3 torpedoes. 2 ships rocked. For seconds, it looked like the world's most dangerous waterway had just tipped into open war. Sailors on both decks were thrown to emergency stations while smoke poured across the water. And here's the question: was this an accident, or a deliberate strike signaling a new red line? If you think one clash at sea can't ripple across global trade, think again. This incident might redefine both strategy and survival in the Indo-Pacific.
China has demanded that the United States effectively restrain its forces and cease all provocative actions in the South China Sea.
So what really happened in the South China Sea, and what does it mean for every navy watching the region? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. The ocean heaved as 3 torpedoes cut through the disputed waters. Their wakes foamed bright against the gray swell, streaking like white scars across the surface. Then the shock hit. Steel rang, decks shuddered, and crews on both sides felt the blast roll through their hulls. For a heartbeat, the only sound was metal groaning under pressure and men and women bracing against the surge.
Indo-Pacific Command says a Chinese warship came within 150 yards of an American destroyer above the Taiwan Strait. These images were captured by...
What looked distant on radar was now brutal, immediate, and tearing into the heart of 2 warships. On one side, the destroyer Arleigh Burke staggered, her mass shifting under the strike. Compartments deep below the waterline flooded quickly, pumps automatically kicking over as the alarm screamed. Up top, sailors sprinted for their assigned control stations, sealing bulkheads and tracking damage in real time. They knew seconds count when water seeps into a ship's belly. A slight delay can mean progressive flooding, one section after another, until the whole frame sags and gives way. Their discipline showed, tireless drills now paying off as valves were spun shut and power rerouted. On the other, the Chinese Coast Guard cutter 3104 reeled at an odd angle, smoke rising from the stern. Its engines balked, belching half-burnt fuel into the sea air, the faint hiss of escaping pressure underlining the damage. Through field glasses, nearby vessels observed a subtle list to port, too slight to threaten capsizing but enough to suggest bent shafts or ruptured machinery.
Nobody wants that, so one is hoping that an awful lot is going on under the surface, politically and diplomatically.
The crew scrambled, some tending fire hoses, others waiting near life rafts, unsure if more torpedoes would track in. The raw question bristling over the radio was simple but terrifying: what were these weapons meant to do? No one saw them as mere exercises. In naval warfare, torpedoes are not launched casually. Their guidance systems count seconds and meters with ruthless precision. To see 3 cut through a corridor tagged by both powers as strategically vital raised a sharper point. Was this a misfire, a reckless drill, or an unspoken warning of escalation?
With every launch in commission, the world's 2 superpowers are racing ahead for global naval supremacy.
Neither Washington nor Beijing confirmed the truth. Silence itself became its own weapon. Meanwhile, sailors aboard the destroyer knew speculation didn't plug leaks. They waded into knee-deep water in lower compartments, forcing pumps to maximum load. Others patched holes with plate and shoring, sweating under the mantle of heat and adrenaline. The warship's crew had trained again and again for hull breaches, but each real incident brought nerves and doubt.
Has accused America of practically inventing several legal concepts like international waters, saying it does not exist.
It was flesh against steel, stamina against time. A steady rhythm set in: contain, pump, lock, report. Every action tracked on the control board where officers barked updates over clipped radios, counting pressure levels tick by tick. The Chinese ship fought its own battle to keep the lights on. The faint black plume pouring aft revealed smoldering equipment damage. Crew members dragged hoses into position, spraying foam and water across scorched metal. The vessel's bow held steady, but its stern wavered under the strain of damaged propulsion. Each minute stretched long, the men and women aboard caught in the paradox of a Coast Guard ship facing naval-level firepower. Their cutters are built to police fishing vessels, not withstand torpedo strikes.
They're trying to flex their muscles and advance authoritarianism. We need to stand strong, and certainly this administration needs to stand strong.
Yet here they were, forced into a fight simply to keep afloat. The broader picture from surrounding shipping lanes was even more chaotic. Civilian crews peered from merchant decks, seeing streaks of smoke and the echo of explosions on the horizon. Their reports carried little detail beyond confusion. To one set of eyes, it looked like deliberate attack. To another, it looked like ordnance testing gone wrong. In truth, no observer could tell. And that uncertainty is dangerous. Perception can drive policy faster than facts.
I think the bottom line is still that America has overriding military power. And without wanting to sound glib, those who know, know. I think the Chinese know that.
When analysts assess these scenarios, one element stands out: intent. Weapons do not leave tubes on accident. Crews follow strict sequences, unlocks, and final confirmations before launch. For 3 torpedoes to slice through waters where both navies patrol, intent must exist. But what kind? Was it intimidation, rehearsal, or a calculated step towards something larger? The silence from Beijing prevents any direct reading, leaving only speculation, signals, and counter-signals. In that hour, one fact loomed heavy over both crews: they were not pressing offensive strikes. They were plugging leaks, sealing doors, and praying pumps held steady.
Challenging their legal basis. In a first-of-its-kind report, in fact, Beijing has hit out at the US.
In other words, superpowers boasting billion-dollar fleets were reduced to a desperate task known by every sailor since the age of sail: keeping wood or steel above the waterline. This is the frontline reality. Prestige and strategy don't matter much when a crew is waist-deep in seawater. But then, once hoses quieted and smoke slowed, the true battle shifted away from those flooded corridors. It left the gunnery decks and the pump compartments. The crucible moved instead to capital cities. Strategists in Washington and Beijing took the helm, eyes locked on maps, weighing whether to escalate, de-escalate, or deny. Nothing about those corridors of water was local anymore. It was the board where the larger chess game was about to unfold. One decision in contested waters can ricochet through global strategy. A single torpedo run can shake trade routes that keep food, fuel, and raw materials moving. Alliances read every action as message, and hesitation as weakness. What would you call this? An unmistakable warning shot, or the first tremor of escalation? Comment your choice below, because perception in these incidents drives policy faster than any official statement. Subscribe and join a community that studies the real frontline logic shaping modern conflict, where a clash over saltwater lanes can redraw maps, test treaties, and decide the pace of tomorrow's wars.